what was it? About 10 minutes ago, we just finished recording episode 155 of Science of the Southland. And we're on 156 now because we realized we have a lot of baseball content to still talk about before their first game this coming Friday, home at Russ Chandler. So let's get into the actual baseball preview, shall we? Last year, we had just absolute studs at shortstop and first base between Mr. Chandler's system and Kevin Parada, who were high round draft picks. And there was, what, 8, 9 draft picks of that year. A lot of talent on the team that's now not here. Let's reflect back to just the end of the end of the year there in ACC tournament, NCAA tournament. What between the two of y'all, just what's the lasting feeling from those Campbell games, the Tennessee games, the other really good wins that we had throughout the season?
Let me take this first, Jake, because I think I have a great tone setter here. It was just angst. That is the only thing that I felt about this team is just angst. I feel like we're trapped in this cycle with baseball where the same problem keeps coming up, and every year we say, yes, they finally have this guy that's going to unlock this whole new world, and it just doesn't happen. I will say they went 1-1 in pool play in the ACC tournament. That was pretty disappointing, especially because they beat Louisville, who was the ranked team, and lost to Pitt, who was the unranked team. It was very weird. And then they went to Knoxville, which was a horrible seating situation.
Robbery. It was robbery. It was terrible.
Oh, we were very mad about this at the time. So they go to Knoxville. Knoxville's Tennessee's the number 1 overall seed. They lose to Campbell in the first game of the regional, and they get into a dogfight to get back to the regional final, including a Herculean effort to beat Campbell in an elimination game the morning of the regional final by Zach Maxwell, which we have to give him credit now that he's graduated. He's gone to camp with the Arizona Diamondbacks. We got to give him some credit for that. Despite maybe some of our previous misgivings about his performances, it was one hell of a start. And he put Tech in position to advance over a Campbell team that was feisty, that came out and just sort of punched Tech in the mouth in that first game, and put Tech in a position to get into that regional final and then almost win, right? Like they had Tennessee on the ropes late into that game, and I think it went into extras, and then that old reliable problem for modern Danny Hall baseball teams comes into play, where the lack of pitching depth, the lack of reliable pitching depth just bites them in the butt. And
it was not, sorry not to cut you off. It was not in extras. However, it was a 9-6 decision, but Tech, like you noted, led most of that game, right? Zach Maxwell, I honestly thought he pitched more than 6 innings, but that was in the final. It was 9-6. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. 9-6 in the final. Tech led really late in the game. It was 4-3 going into the top of the 9th, but I mean, there's only so much that arms can do when they're pitching out of their minds. Again, just to circle back, Maxwell, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. Dawson Brown was tagged with all 6 of the earned runs in the 9th. Not great. 7 hits, 7 runs. 7 runs. Yeah, 7 runs. It's tough, right? You play a great game. Again, it seems to be, it's not quite as heartbreaking as I'd say the Vanderbilt regional the year before, or Auburn. Nothing could be as heartbreaking as Auburn 2019.
No, the Auburn thing stands alone on its own team.
That was
rough.
I saw the Bartman play happen live as a Cubs fan, and I think the Auburn home run hurt me more.
You were at the Bartman game?
I wasn't at it, but I saw it happen live. I was watching the TV.
Okay. I mean, I have a couple of personal experiences in that same department, but I also want to issue a correction before we move forward. It was Josiah Siegel who had the Herculean effort versus Campbell. He was 6 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 run on 98 pitches. I just wanted to make sure that I got that in. Marquise Grissom in relief, or actually Marquise Grissom started that game really rough. 2 1/3, 4 hits, 4 runs, and then Siegel basically coasted for 6 1/3. So really good work.
Huge game-saving effort there. Huge
Yeah.
game, same year.
That was the Herculean effort that I wanted to mention. And then Maxwell tops that by starting I think he was starting the Tennessee game. And
he did.
And just held down what was a historic team in that.
I want to note one other thing. Georgia Tech, 11 hits, 6 runs to Tennessee's 12 hits, 9 runs. Like this is a team that was, and another 6 walks on top of that. This is a team that was getting base runners. It was just, Tennessee put a really big crooked number up in the 9th, and that's brutal. So yeah, not much you can really do about it.
What I was typing in the background of the chat before, or just to make sure I remembered it, is just runners in scoring position. I like the Barbs, and like every baseball team I've ever rooted for, this team also had a problem with actually getting runners in scoring position home multiple times. It's infuriating.
Can I say something cathartic? I'm so happy for Colin Hall going on to do bigger and better things in the professional world. I remember the 3 runners left on base against Tennessee and many other runners before that. And I'm excited for us to turn over a new leaf in center field. And I'm trying to be as political as I can about that, because he really was a grit guy, a je ne sais quoi guy. But man, I feel like this team's been needing a fresh start there for the last couple of years. And it's a little bit refreshing.
We're there now. Last note, Kevin Parada did set the Tech single season home run record also last year as part of his just massive year. Chandler Simpson, I've gone through looking through the record books, just kind of learning the history of the team and the various Hall of Famers. His single season batting average is up there. If he had played a little bit longer here in terms of like the career average, he would have been up there as well, but he only has so many plate appearances in a Tech uniform. After coming from, was it UAB? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, UAB.
Yep. So,
I mean, the dude hit 433.
I also didn't realize until just now that he hit 433.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous. Like, it really was he gets on base and then Kevin just figures it out from there. Like, or Steven Reed or anyone else below, Tres Gonzalez Jenkins. Like, having him on base was an absolute cheat code out there.
I mean, if you look at the top 5 in the lineup card for the Tennessee game, Simpson 433, Parada 360, Jenkins 381, Gonzalez 339, Tim Borden the second 335, and then you got Reed at 333. Like that, it's emblematic again of late stage Danny Hall baseball, that this team essentially was an offensive juggernaut, top to bottom. One, I think that wasn't heralded for its fair share for being as good as it was.
Yeah.
But that's because they didn't have the pitching to match, right? We talk about Zach Maxwell, putting the team on his back in the Tennessee game, yada, yada, yada. Where was it all year? He had a 5.26 ERA. That's why this team didn't go to Omaha. They just didn't have anything coming out of the bullpen or on the mound. I mean, not to disparage the guys that were there, because they put together a great season nonetheless, but it was really, all right, offensive, big crooked numbers, pitching, slightly smaller, big crooked numbers the entire year.
I don't know. They allowed a bunch of crooked numbers, pitching did. Just to actually make your point even further, Zach Maxwell, 526, like you said. Marquise Grissom, who was was one of the starters for most of the year, 575. John Medich, 675, and Chance Huff, 698. All in all, Georgia Tech put together a 658 ERA from all of its pitchers. With an opponent batting average of 291. So just look, like, even competent pitching, even competent. I don't want to dunk on them too much, but even like, let's say, ACC average pitching makes this team advance out of some of these games, right? They might beat Tennessee. They might not even have to have played in that. They might not even had to go to the regional, like through the elimination bracket to get to the regional final. It's just frustrating when we have this now, and I think we're starting to talk on circles now, but it's frustrating when we have the same exact problem every single year, and it does not seem to be fixed.
It's not talking in circles, because this year I don't have all the numbers in front of me laid out, but it certainly was worse. than it has been. The only pitcher of notable amount of innings pitched, if you will, that was under 4 ERA was Josiah Siegel. He was very good, I would say. In his 14 appearances, he had a 397, 2 wins, and 22.2 innings pitched. So for an opponent, batting average of 266. This is our gold standard. So like that, if you want to know why we weren't in a super regional, it's because they didn't have the pitching to do it. I think it's pretty clear. And I think that's going to be then, understandably, our biggest question coming into this year, is it not?
Yep, we'll see how that all pans out. Got to play the games to find that out for sure, just to see like where they're going to level up and whatnot, and see the non-conference play up front. Just be like, all right, what's going to be, who the workhorse is going to be, who's going to clearly be ace number one, who's clearly going to be coming out of the pen, all that kind of stuff. So I'll have to still find out. I'll note, Jake, of those names you read at the top of that lineup for the Tennessee game, none of them play for Georgia Tech anymore. They are all somewhere in the minor league systems, approaching their first spring trainings or minor leagues camps or something like that. So we're got to flip the page a little bit here. Other pieces that are staying, though, that'd be Danny Burrell and James Ramsey, were extended until 2025. Of note, those were Todd Stansbury extensions and not Jay Batt extensions, one of his last moves before his departure from the Flats. Also, last year we had Mark Teixeira coming on campus. He graduated, got his undergrad done. Got his undergrad done, and was an assistant with the team. And now his fellow AL East counterpart, Matt Whiters from the Baltimore Orioles, is also kind of doing the same thing, taking classes. He's here as an undergraduate assistant coach with the team. So
it's so weird.
It's
very cool.
Teixeira was a volunteer. I knew he was finishing his degree. I didn't know he was involved with the team.
He couldn't get paid because he was a student in that department. I guess technically in that sense, but he was around. Either way, he was around. He was helpful. He was there for the guys.
He was helpful. As helpful as he was during the football search.
I know. Only as helpful as he could be. I mean, from what I understand, he wasn't on campus all the time for his classes because he has a life at his house at Texas and all that kind of stuff. But either way, so yeah, we got Whiters here taking classes and whatnot. Notable subtractions: Mr. Parada, the catcher who drafted him?
Meet the Mets. Step right up and beat the Mets.
God darn it! All right, well. It was nice knowing you, Kevin. Trez Gonzalez, Andrew Jenkins, Chandler Simpson, Colin Hall, Tim Borden, and Zach Maxwell, all previously mentioned at various points. I think we hit all the major points we need to hit on those guys when talking about the regionals and all that kind of stuff. Notable additions here on the freshman side: another former AL East, son of a former AL East guy, Carson Sabathia, Mr. CC Sabathia's son, is here. We also have Tyler Minnick and Parker Brocious. That is not Scott Brocious' son. For those of who also know Yankee lore, it's a different Brocious. And then there are a couple of transfers: Angelo Despina and Nathan Smith. Anything? Well, what do we got here for these fellas?
Angelo Despina was transferred in from Mercer. He played a bunch of first base. He looks pretty good. I think the staff is pretty high on him, so I'm interested to see what he does there. Carson Sabathia, dude, it's really weird to now see kids of guys that I watch play in the pros,
Glavin, all these guys,
play at Tech, and then go on to start their own pro careers. It's really, really bizarre. But that's really the only note that I have.
That Holiday's kid.
Just wait until Vlad Guerrero III is playing baseball.
Oh my God,
that's terrifying. Don't put that into the universe. That's disgusting.
Is it?
No.
Anyways,
I think it is worth noting that Tech I would say, basically, it's not a reload per se, just because we lost 5 guys who are all hitting above 330. But that being said, I still think there's going to be a lot of difficult lineup decisions. First base comes to mind. They're going to try and get Jackson Finley's bat. I know. In the lineup, that's been really on everything that I've seen from any site, any Twitter, anything, just in terms of DHing. So there's only 9 slots to get in. So again, Ramsey can recruit boys that can hit. Ramsey can develop boys who can hit even better than they showed up. I think it's just a matter of who's playing and how much time they're getting, rather than the oh gosh, where is everyone? It's an empty room with a bunch of chairs kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same theme that we talked about, because this team, I love them, but same story, different year.
I think this kind of leads into our discussion on what the lineup will look like on opening day and moving towards the season. We'll skip the pitching mound for right now. But it's super interesting to see that Tech still has the left side of its infield completely intact, right?
Yeah.
Like Jadyn Jackson and Drew Compton, who got a lot of time at those positions, will be back, and they've slotted right into the lineup. But it now has to replace its entire right side of the infield and the catcher position and most of the outfield and the DH spot. So like you say it's not a rebuild, but if you just look at the raw, like you're replacing 6 out of the 9 spots, right? Like, and then you have a rotating cast of characters on the mound. So it's interesting, right?
It's a semi rebuild here. It's like it's not all the way there, but you're not. It's not like if this is a pro team, they wouldn't be tanking if this was a pro team. But they would be kind of figuring out if they're going to be playing 500 or not. If this was,
I'm not saying tear it down to the studs, right? Like I don't think that there's like this is still like the talent level is really high. I mean, these recruiting classes are still like top
five recruiting class.
Yeah, like it's not like a tear it down to the stud situation, and or like let the young people cook, and sort of take your lumps for the next couple of years. But
women's basketball, anyway.
But it's also not a situation where you're like, okay, we're just like slotting, we're just plugging and playing, we're slotting guys into the system, and we're sort of making do, because you were like I said, you're replacing 6 of the 9 field positions.
Yeah. But think about the fact that this is the kind of turnover that we've seen for this team for kind of the last 3-4 years, right? It's almost remarkable that Compton, Reed, and Jake DeLeo, are all still in the lineup at all. Like I look at seeing Drew Compton and Stephen Reed in particular, and I'm like, why are you guys still here? Like all your buddies, they left. Like what are you doing? Why are you here? Because it's been, back, I think, to the COVID year, maybe, definitely not 2019. But you get the point. Like it's a high turnover type team. We only saw Kyle McCann as a starter for a year or two. We only saw Joey Bart as a starter for a couple of years. Like Parada was only here for 2, and this is a team that just has constantly kept reloading and reloading and reloading, and that's also just partially due to the finicky weirdness. Even though the rules aren't that different from the NBA draft, just with how many players, even with the shorter draft, still are brought into major league systems, right? It's essentially something that college baseball teams, for the most part across the country, especially the good ones, are dealing with. They're only getting players for 2 or 3 years, if the sophomore, if they're old, and or otherwise junior year, and they're out.
And on top of that, well, I'll add 2 things. Number one, Compton is the 16th overall prospect by D1 Baseball, and Christian Campbell, who might be the starter at second, is number 31. But on top of that, I think because the MLB draft has been shortened to that 5-round length, I think it's still at 5. You also see a much more rotation in that transfer portal, right? You see so many more players that are older, right? Because they still have the COVID year, and they are moving into the transfer portal and still staying those first 2 years, maybe at their starting school, but then they are moving on to other programs. So it's 20
rounds. 20 rounds. It used to be 40, but
okay, but still, like, you still have kids that are saying, like, hey, I'm going to, instead of having to take their lumps in the draft, they're like, okay, well, I'll just take 2 years of my eligibility and transfer to a different school because it's completely free. So
I think if we're talking bigger picture baseball, I think one of the things about us and this podcast talking 17 different sports is we don't really get to get into the bigger picture of some of these leagues and more broad topics. But I think that 20 round draft is something that's leaving, like you said, a lot of that talent in college baseball, and it's really bringing up the floor for everyone. I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing not necessarily pitching staff struggle, but it seems like every team that's good has just a phenomenal level talent at the plate, and the difference is what they can do with that pitching. But even, I mean, we gave up 15 runs to, not that Campbell was a bad team, but it's almost every lineup you face is going to be
why must you give me trauma?
some
Why
level
must you do this to me?
of explosive. I mean, we gave up 14 runs to Kennesaw State. Granted, another good team, but
That game
these
was
are
weird. We write the Kennesaw State games from last year off because no one it was pitching machines on the mound for both of those games.
Yep.
Which gives us a pretty good segue into talking about the pitching.
Hey, I'm the host here. I'm the host here this
Not
time.
to
I'll
do
do the
jack scout
segues.
for it,
I'll do the
but-
segues. Yeah,
Fire
talk
Akshay
about
2023.
it. Please talk about it. Here, let me list some names first to get the gears spinning for y'all. Cody Carlisle, Ben King, Terry Busey, Carson Ballard, no relation to Wiley Ballard for all we know. Dawson Brown, Jackson Finley, Dalton Smith, Logan McGuire, no relation to Deck McGuire as far as I know. Also Dawson Brown, Kevin Brown's son, of course. Joe Mannelly, Aiden Vinatieri, no relation to Adam Vinatieri, and Josiah Siegel.
I made that Vinatieri
joke last year. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, 2023, new year, new joke. Yeah. So the outstanding question we have here is like we lost a number of guys last year, of course. Here, so like, what? Well, they'll figure it out, of course. Like Siegel's gonna probably get a lot of innings, as we saw from the Campbell game, do stuff like that. Dawson Brown will get innings. Like, where do we see? I guess what are the thoughts here? I don't have a specific question. Just explain.
Couple of things for me.
I should have said a name.
Yeah, you definitely come on, Jack. You got a point.
I only host like once every couple months here. So, anyways, Jake goes first.
It's kind of remarkable how much we kind of just spent the first 20 minutes of this going like, pitching question mark, when a lot of these names kind of jump out at the page, at least for me. Like whether that's Terry Busey, who's gotten a lot of hype. I know for a fact that he's on that D1 top however many prospects list as somebody who's going to make a difference on the mound. Names that we've seen before or been in the mix for starting or big roles. I mentioned Siegel earlier. I know Vinatieri got some starts last year. Mannelly's been around the block and around the block again like 6 times. Logan McGuire, Dalton Smith, Finley, Dawson Brown, Ben King, Cody Carlisle have either been big bullpen pieces, innings eaters or starters or something. So not that this team didn't lose a lot from the mound, but there also wasn't a lot to lose. So I'm hoping that, getting them in the fancy lab for another year and, getting the gang together, for a full off season, hopefully that helps them gel because like I said, I feel like, we talked about the turnover on the lineup card, but in terms of the pitching, it seems like we're basically stocked with a lot of the same faces we saw last year, right? Other than, I guess, like John Medich, Zach Maxwell. I mean, Bartnicki maybe? I can't even remember.
Yeah, Bartnicki
on the team last year?
Might have graduated, but I don't exactly remember the timeline. Speaking of timelines, Joseph Mannelly has been on this team for God knows how long. I think he's
this is year 6.
Senior.
This is year 6.
Redshirt senior, redshirt super senior at that point. Josiah Siegel, we talked about earlier, as being really impressive in that in relief in that Campbell elimination game. Cody Carlisle was really impressive early last year. And earned a starting role, if I remember correctly. I think it was the Friday starter for a while. But it just comes down to, for some of these guys, is like they just need control, right? Like it comes down, it seems like very anti-analytics, and it kind of seems like very simplistic and reductive, but like you got to hit your spots.
You have to throw strikes.
You have to maintain control of your pitches.
And
each of these guys, like, consistently Georgia Tech has started to have a control problem, and they just they go down the count, or they let up one walk, and then they just kind of fall apart, and it's frustrating, right? Especially when you're working through the lineup and in a close game. Like you just can't have multiple arms do that. You need someone that settles things down, and that's why it was so impressive for Siegel to come in after Grissom and really lock it down for 6 innings, right? In long relief.
I forgot we lost Grissom. Good point.
Yeah, true. Him too.
Yeah. And so that's the kind of thing that I want to see from this staff, regardless of who it is. It's just you got to get on the mound. And again, like, this is all like very anti ethos of Georgia Tech and doing the numbers and anything. You just kind of got to hit your spots and sling it, and just sort of be the be the big man on campus when it comes to pitching, and have the stuff on a given day.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to keep looking back, because Lord knows I look back at the 2019 team probably more often than is healthy, but you need some equivalent to a Connor Thomas or a Xavier Curry, right? A Friday, Saturday starter that'll eat innings, get quality starts, all that good stuff. And we need kind of that Tristan English equivalent, right? Somebody who, is going to come in, get an inning, get the job done, and bingo, bango, bongo. That's what it takes, right? You need somebody that you can put the ball in their hands. That is your closer. That is your high leverage reliever, whatever. Or somebody you're going to get a great start out of, most of the times when he's on the mound and can shut down, I guess not necessarily the regional championship game, but that 1-2 game, the second one in a regional or that Saturday, or I think you guys get what I'm saying, but you just need somebody that you can be confident in and get it done. And I don't think there's been anyone that we look at and we're like, yes, okay,
that guy's pitching, right?
That guy's pitching. We need that guy, or preferably more than one that guy. My
I
gut,
think
based on what I've seen, implies that that's going to be Busey, but we got to let them play the games, right?
Yeah, so I think the last note that I want to make before we move on to talking about the schedule, well, there I go doing Jack's job for him again. But the last note I want to make is that I think when Connor Thomas was pitching and we had a different pitching coaching staff, you saw a lot more emphasis on control, but at the detriment of speed and of stuff, right? Like they had pitching control, they were hitting their spots, but they were just slow. Right. That's how Connor Thomas's arm was not particularly like powerful. He wasn't throwing fire. That was more, if I remember correctly, that was more English's game, and Xavier Curry's game to that point. But he was hitting his spots and he was getting strikeouts and he was doing really well. So I think we got to do a better job, or staff has got to do a better job of balancing those two things, right? You can have the fire, you can have the Zach Maxwell level arm talent, but you have to be able to hit your spots and hit your spots consistently, and also manage the mental side of that game, right? You can't get sucked into and sort of get really frustrated with. You just can't get sucked into a situation where you lose that focus and lose that control when you're down the count or when you let up a walk or two. You have to stay in the moment and stay committed and get the job done, like you're saying.
Correct. As a pitcher, I agree on all fronts there. Schedule wise, forgot to mention, Chance Huff, also a pitcher starter that ate some innings, that is also not here any longer. So just another name out there. Schedule wise, it's coming out Thursday. So if you're listening on Thursday, tomorrow we have a game against Miami of Ohio at Russ Chandler. The first 9 games of the season are at Russ Chandler between Miami of Ohio, Georgia Southern, a weekend series against Tennessee Tech, a single game against and a game against Long Island, and there's a Kennesaw game in there, I believe, as well. And then the home, neutral, and road series against a school out east happens. Other names out here that are not from the ACC: Lipscomb, Auburn, Wofford. What is that? Oh, Georgia State at Coolray. That's cool. Georgia Southern, as always. And then Mercer, Gardner-Webb. The Ken is for Kennesaw. That makes sense. I'm just reading Jake typing right now. Mercer again out there.
Doing it live.
Literally doing it live here, and then we'll get to the ACC championships in Raleigh. No, Winston-Salem, Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. It's always
it's Durham. It's Durham.
Durham.
Durham Bulls Park.
Damn it.
Just name a city out there. It's one of those up there in North Carolina.
Exactly.
So pretty gonna be a good schedule again. The ACC is gonna be good again for sure. Got the Auburn series. They're always fun to play. But we'll be able to see the Jackets here in person for a long stretch to get a good feel for them and see where they're at. Hopefully we'll come out of this pretty far on top, and somewhere in this 6 to 9 win range, I think, is a good expectation there. And on expectations, I will note in my interviews here, we'll get to in a couple minutes. I let Jadyn Jackson kind of give his own impression of where they think the team's going to be. But excuse me, where do y'all I mean, we talked about reloading here in terms of like it's a rebuild, but not really a rebuild. They're one of those teams in college sports that like can kind of do it year to year with a lot of turnover, like you see in basketball as well. For those top teams, I think we certainly would expect a higher ACC tournament stature than we did in terms of not losing out the gate. But where do we think we're gonna sit come what was it June whenever the season ends?
So here's my bit on this. I know that I said that this team is rebuilding, but at the same time, the standard is the standard. You make it to the tournament, and as always, as it has been for like a decade and a half now, the expectation is to advance. You have the talent, you have the stacked on top of like stacked on stacked on stacked recruiting classes. You have to execute. Like I understand that you're replacing, and I feel a little hypocritical because I've said the rebuilding bit, but I understand that you're replacing 6 starters. I understand that you're now a fundamentally younger team. I understand that the ACC is deep at baseball. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter to me. Like you need to make it to a super regional. That is that the bare minimum is making the tournament. The expectation is that you advance to a super regional. And I'm not going to be like realistic and reined in over it this year because I am
this is new.
Well, not like
Akshay,
it's not positive,
unrealistic,
but it's not like an unrealistic positive thing.
No,
it's like
not. You're right.
This is where the bar is for competency for this program based on its history, based on its coaching staff, and based on the talent it has on deck. That's where the bar is. You have to come and meet it.
Jake, do you have any last notes before we move on?
Yeah, I'm going to need one of you guys to vamp because I do have a point I want to circle back to, RE, the schedule. I just need to finish putting together some thoughts on that. But in terms of my expectations, I'm going to temper what Akshay said just a little bit and only a hair. I agree. I think that making the postseason is an expectation of this team. With how talented it is, I don't care if you're reloading or what. If you're bringing in top 10 recruiting classes, you make it to the regional. Mm-hmm. Darn near need to come close to hosting. I think baseball is too random of a game. The exact same thing that I wanted to say about softball for me to say, yes, this team must make a super regional or it's a disappointment. But at some point, it's been 16 years. It's been a long time that like heartbreakers or unfortunate to keep getting sent to Vandy or number 1 Tennessee or losing in the most improbably
incredibly stupid and now impossible walk-off fashion.
Impossible walk-off fashion. But this team is one that is so talented. They are, they've theoretically done everything right. They've kept together a talented, theoretically coaching staff, the most, the winningest coach in D1 history is at Georgia Tech. James Ramsey has done a phenomenal job. They've got freaking Matt Wieters taking no salary to be an assistant coach. Like it's an embarrassment of riches. They're probably the most embarrassment of riches team that we've got, especially considering how new the facility is and how stacked the talent is. It's time. They're due, right? I don't know. It seems like
they're exasperated. I think
like the chicken. Summer. Yes. I feel like I don't want to be one of those fan bases where it's like, well, if we don't do this, then they're a colossal disappointment, blah, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, these are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids. And maybe 124.
And Joe Mannelly.
And Joe Mannelly.
Jack Rubenstein, 24-year-old. They're kids, right? It's unfair for us as, we're relatively close in age to them. But it's you cannot pin your emotions to the whims and performance of kids playing a game, right? They're kids playing. They're not professionals. They are there to get degrees and, prepare themselves for the next step, be that baseball or not. But they're too good. They gotta make the postseason. And once you're in the postseason, it's a crapshoot, right? Ole Miss won the freaking national championship last year after being under 500 in SEC play the vast majority of the year and being literally the last team into the tournament. That's how talented college baseball is these days.
It's funny.
But that's how talented the sport is these days too. It's not a bunch of oh, I'm a high schooler who didn't get drafted, so now I have to go to college. No, people are electing to do this. And I think that this is, if not the segment of the game that's growing the fastest, it's darn near close. And it's something that we've seen, really a lot of, I'd say, compelling growth in the last couple of years. I think more people are following college baseball, and I think the product's gotten better too. Granted, midweek games are slow, but other than that, we're getting there. Somebody vamp. I want to make a point about the schedule. I just need to get the rest of my numbers in.
You almost did your own. You were doing your own vamping there for a second. Let me just shout out section 103 before we lose track here. Steven was nice enough to reach out. I have something in the mail from him from section 103 as we speak. So cannot wait to see what that is. Maybe that'll be next week's ad read. Is what did I get in the mail from Steven at section 103? Always what is it? $70 free shipping if you spend $70 or more online. You can vote on the new.
Yep.
Design. There is, Jake said earlier this week, there is a couple correct choices. I think there is one correct choice. It's A. Just vote A. That vote A. Well, clearly we're all in a complete agreement here. But yeah, love him to death. Official sponsor of this podcast, if you want to put it that way. Jake, what's your schedule thing here?
Yeah. So I don't know if I've ever actually explicitly stated this on the podcast, but the concept of the Universal Selection Index is to develop a consistent metric across all NCAA sports that would be used as reasonable facsimile as you can get that compares apples to apples. Baseball to softball to volleyball are what we've got it spun up for. It predicted softball at larges perfectly, save for one last year. Was within two or three on baseball. And volleyball, I believe, was within 2 as well. So I think it's pretty reasonable. That being said, the Universal Selection Index for baseball 2022 has very nice things to say about our schedule. And I want to emphasize how front-loaded some of those things are. Georgia Tech is playing no team worse than 243rd. That's Gardner Webb. They'll catch Tennessee Tech for 3 games, Long Island and Lipscomb early in the season. Those teams are all between 130 and 165. But other than those 3 noted teams, which combine for 5 games, the 3 against Gardner and the 3 against BC, who's ranked 137th, Georgia Tech plays teams all ranked within the top 100 on this list, most of whom were in the tournament. And of note, Jack, I want you to guess how many of the model's top 10 teams from last year are on our schedule.
Should I ignore the fact I'm looking at it?
Yeah, ignore the fact that you're on it.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's go with 4.
Well, it's 5.
5.
It's a model that I think gives a little bit more credence to the ACC than media might hint. The notorious SEC homer media in college baseball, but Georgia Tech gets Notre Dame for 3 games. They're 4th, Louisville for 3 games. They're 5th, Auburn for a home and home midweek. They're 6th, UNC at number 9. They'll get 3 games against them. And Virginia Tech in the model is sitting at number 2. That's in addition to a Wake Forest team in the ACC that Tech doesn't play. So strength of schedule will be there to host. It's a matter of making do in the rest of it. So the twin points, early season's going to be hard. Notre Dame, Auburn, and Louisville is going to be a heck of a week. I believe those all come in a 9-day span. It's 7 games in 9 days, or 7 games in 10 days, all
Something
against
like
last year's top 6. It's a strength of schedule that would allow them to host, and it's incredibly front loaded and really talented all the way through. So just keep that in mind when talking about expectations. There we go. I tied it back in.
I think that's good. That's good. It's good to know. Not the hardest beginning. Get yourself ready and then ball out the rest of the way, and hopefully by the end of the Virginia Tech series, where you could not necessarily coast, but at least be like, all right, we've got 5-6 series here to work our way into a better shape, or whatever shape you need to be in by that point. So like I said, even the ones I didn't highlight, Miami and UVA down the stretch are both teams that are fixing to be really good as well. Yep. So really should make for entertaining baseball up and down the ACC, up and down the greater Southeast area. I mean,
I'm excited for this season. I love college baseball. It'll be real exciting coming up.
It's going to be good. That UVA series, who knows what that could be? What we could be playing for at that point? There's a lot. ACC's good. Who knows? All right, we've hit the end of our portion here. Akshay's not even on the Zoom anymore at this point. So what we got next for you? I sat down with Joe Mannelly, Jadyn Jackson, and Jake DeLeo. A lot of J's there. About a month ago at Russ Chandler, just to talk about the season, talk about last season, and where their heads are at. So without further ado, let's hear from Joe Mannelly. All right, with us right now is Joe Mannelly, pitcher for Georgia Tech baseball. Thanks for showing up.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
So, I mean, last year, you're an Atlanta guy, right?
Yeah.
You grew up a Braves fan.
Absolutely.
I get it. Okay.
Die hard.
Okay. So you're the unique. You can uniquely answer this, knowing that there is some overlap between the Tech baseball fans, Braves baseball fans, which probably limited to mostly just the Atlanta area, less the greater Braves country, which is huge. But have you noticed anything about Tech fitting in the context of the Braves fan subculture at all at games? Is that something that you've noticed at all?
I think it's kind of more what you said. Like Georgia Tech's we're Atlanta based, so you see a lot of people here that go to Tech and people that are around that are Braves fans. But like it goes for most of the team too. Like most of us are Braves fans, but it doesn't really extend much past that.
That's cool. Yeah. I guess, and then y'all have the MLB presence here too now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Teixeira's been here a second. Now you got Wieters. How does that? Does it feel weird, like having guys in the dugout that you literally watched growing up play on TV?
Well, I would say, I mean, this is my 6th year here, so like my freshman year, when like you'd have guys walking through, it's like holy crap! Like I remember watching you on TV or walking around campus, and you see Teixeira walking through, and it's pretty incredible. But nowadays, like it's almost a little bit expected. Like having Weedy back, like to help us around, like it's really incredible. And like I know a lot of our catchers are super excited about it, and they have been for most of the fall.
You got jaded with major leaguers, man. Imagine that.
Exactly.
Let me go back to the last game of last season, the Tennessee game, because I think that probably was, I imagine, the most anticipated game for y'all, because it was do or die at that point, and facing one of the best college teams ever grace a field. What do you remember? What are your thoughts and feelings about that game now? Because I remember watching in the moment, it was like, holy crap, Zach might do this and pull it out, and then the rest of the game happened.
Yeah, I mean, going into that game, we knew we needed to play about as well as we possibly could, and I thought we put up a really good fight for most of the game, and just had a couple things kind of go against our way there in the last inning. But I just think it really kind of proved that last year's team was super talented, and we had our ups and downs with it. And you had a Tennessee team who, they could not find a way to lose a baseball game.
Yeah.
And we gave them one heck of a fight, and I think it didn't go our way, but I was just more proud of the way that we fought it out there through the end, because they were the consensus #1 team all year.
Yeah. Do you have to take a different mental approach into a game like that? Because I mean, it's not your normal regular season game. It's a do or die against just the titan of the sport at that time.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing, like we kind of looked at it, is like it's win or go home, and we had that with the game earlier that day, and really I guess the 2 earlier games.
Yeah.
Against Alabama State and then against Campbell.
Right.
So it was kind of the same philosophy. Like we got to try to pull it out, or we're done. And then last year's a special group of guys. I mean, we had 9 guys drafted or 9 guys signed.
Yeah.
Lost a ton of older guys, and it was just really kind of like play for each other, because we didn't want to go home, and we loved being around each other. It was a heck of a group of guys, and things kind of happened to fall against us. So
I think watching that, it felt it didn't feel inevitable that a loss was coming, but the amount of, I think, hope that the fan base had in that moment was like, holy crap, they've shown this, and y'all didn't play. Who's the best team y'all played? Was Virginia probably one of the better series in terms of the top team y'all played last season? Yeah,
Virginia. I would say Virginia was up there. I mean, Virginia Tech. They were a national seed, and
right. That was the other one.
Was. We played them early in the year, so it was kind of like we knew they were good, but I don't think a lot of people gave them as much credit as they deserved from the start. So I would say those 2 teams were some of the best that we played. And you've
been here a minute now. What kind of a minute? 6 minutes? We'll just say 6 minutes. What what kind of games are you most excited for? I mean, College World Series games, I would imagine, are one part, but is there like just certain vibes that hit, like early season, mid season, late season, or time of day, location? Like what gets you most excited to play nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest for us is obviously the Georgia series.
Mm-hmm.
Always highly anticipated, always one heck of a matchup. And then, personally, like I love the ACC weekends. I love Friday nights here at Russ Chandler. I mean, we get a good crowd. You have the city in the background. It's those are really my most anticipated games.
Those are fun. I was when I walked up here today, I just noticed this is might be maybe the best stadium in Atlanta that personifies the city in the forest thing, because you've got the tree skyline, and then you got the Baltimore signs over there. We're sitting inside the home plate club recording this, and the NCR building's looming right there.
It is incredible. It is incredible.
We need to get a power lefty out here from the MLB to just see if they can hit a building. That would be amazing if that ever happened.
I would love that. I'd at least see if somebody can put one on top of the Zeta building right there.
That would be incredible. That would be incredible. Let me ask you about pitching. What's your off-season routine like to keep your arm fresh, keep it healthy, and are you developing anything new as you're going in the off-season?
Yeah, I guess for me personally, like coming off last year, it was a little bit of downtime coming in the summer. I didn't go play summer ball. I'm, going into my last year here, so it's more of keeping the body healthy first, and then a couple weeks off. I can go a little bit more in depth into some arm care stuff, just making sure that my body moves the best it possibly can to come out here and perform. And then from a pitch package standpoint, I'm not personally working on anything new. It's just more of trying to fine tune the stuff that me and Coach Borrello have really been focusing on this past year and a half.
How does Coach Borrell approach working with the staff? Is it person by person, or is there like staff-wide goals and mechanic things or whatever that he tries to help all of y'all improve on at the same time?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like obviously we have staff goals that we want to try to achieve each week, each outing, each year. But he knows he does really well in knowing how to communicate with each person individually. And some people might need a little bit of tougher love, or some people might need a little bit of encouragement. So I think he does a really great job of that. And I mean, he's just seen so much, being with the Yankees and being able to have him here. I think he's done a really great job of improving our pitching staff and really developing people.
This is a recruiting question, so it may be different than when you were getting recruited, but how much to you did velocity and arm strength matter versus location and being able to throw strikes?
So I had a pretty interesting recruitment story. So how I got here was I didn't go to any camps. I didn't go to any college camps. I was the oldest. I'm the oldest of 3 kids. Okay. So like we just had no idea how to do it. And I was always the biggest kid on a summer ball team. I'd joke like at 12, 14 years, like I was same size I am now. Like it's just
I was the same size.
Yeah.
I'm 5'3". I was the same height back then. I was pitching back then, and if you walked up to the plate, I just would have been like, no, this is not happening. This is not happening.
Yeah, but for me, like it was as a lefty, like I at 15, I was throwing 89, 90, and
Jesus.
It made recruitment relatively easy. Like yeah. I had the old pitching coach, Coach Howell. He saw me at Lake Point a couple times, and he's the one that kind of got me in the door here at Tech with Coach Hall. And like we didn't like back then, like there wasn't much on anything other than velocity. Like there wasn't any TrackMan, there wasn't any
right yeah.
It was all radar guns behind the dish, and just the eye test.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a little bit different for some of the other guys, but that's really kind of how I got my foot in the door.
What's your the last thing I did was pitch in high school, which when I played baseball, so I don't know how much of it I'd be able to pick up that it makes sense to me. But when you're out there pitching, like, do you try to find some sort of like tunnel vision spot when you're out there? Or are you trying to be like hyper aware of everything, or you're just focused on the batter and that's all you need to really do?
Yeah, I think for me, I find myself in trouble when I'm super hyper aware. When I kind of have that tunnel vision mindset, that's when I think I perform the best. When it's just kind of me and the catcher, and it's more of the results are just kind of the hitter reacting to you releasing the ball. And like it's like especially this year, like me and Ruby, like behind the dish, it's just more of me and him than it is really anything else.
Yeah, nice. Okay, campus questions.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite? Well, A, say your major, and then favorite and least favorite part about your major.
Okay, so I graduated undergrad in 2021.
Okay.
I did business with a concentration in finance, and this spring I am finishing up my master's in real estate development.
Nice.
And then,
we probably had some of the same professors because I was strategy and innovation and Chandler as well.
Yeah. So, I think my favorite part of my undergrad, I loved Dr. Garner. She was she was great.
She's the best.
Yeah. She really wanted you to understand everything, and I think that's what made finance so enjoyable for me. And then honestly, probably the least favorite part was having to deal with COVID, just like taking it out of the classroom.
Yeah.
And it really kind of took that personal aspect out of actual class. Like you're sitting at home trying to do on a Zoom call, trying to learn all this stuff where like you used to be around your buddies, and if you didn't catch what was going on, it's like could you help me real fast? Like help me figure out this Excel.
Yeah. I had Garner during it when we shifted into COVID. Like started with it, ran it normally, got to get the whole Garner experience, which people listening probably haven't had Dr. Garner, but she's top 3 in Scheller for sure.
She's top notch.
And I mean, so many athletes go through Scheller, so a lot of the athletic department gets to know her quite well. But then once COVID hit, I think I had a 10-slide presentation or something, and it turned into just send the title slide with the concept because it was just such a different. You couldn't measure anything really.
Well, it just made it so tough too because nobody was prepared for this, like from a school perspective, having to switch everything online, and I think we are now obviously, but back then it just made it really hard to kind of get that full feeling of class.
Yeah. All right, wrapping up. What's do you have a personal goal for the season, and then what for now is the team goal?
I mean, personal goal for me is I'm in kind of my curtain call my last year, so I think for me it's really just to really kind of do whatever the team needs me to do, whether that's go out there and contribute or be a good leader. Like I've been around here from coaching changes to Coach Hall, I've been here since 2017, so it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But biggest thing for me is just to make sure I'm doing what I can to benefit the others that are going to be here longer than me.
Yeah.
And then season goal, I mean, for us, I would say we're a little we lost a lot of talent last year, so we got a lot of new faces, and then for us, it's just a little bit more of a chip on our shoulder. Let's go prove that we can do it because we know we can. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing for us. Just got there with a little bit of fire. Knowing it's your last year, do you think you'll try to get into some positions and other stuff? You will get only one more shot to get extra plate appearances and stuff like that. So in the fall a little bit, I hit around just for fun, but I think mostly for me it's just I'm gonna try to focus on what I think I do best, and I think that comes from the pitching side, and again, just make sure that I'm there as a great leader and a great representative of Tech baseball for those who are younger than me. Awesome. Hey, if you just get the launch angle right on your uppercut, and you never know what could happen. Exactly. All right, Joe Mannelly, thanks a ton. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, with us now is Jadyn Jackson, infielder for Tech baseball. Thanks for coming by. I wanted to start asking you about institutional culture with this team because Coach Hall's been here longer than either of us have been alive, which is a rare case in any sport coaching staff at D1 or higher. So when you play here as in your years here, did it feel like? Well, let's go when you came here. Did it feel like there was already a pretty strong institutional culture set just because it's been so consistent there for so long? Oh, yeah, definitely. The guys that come before me, like the Luke Waddell's, also Ohio, they've definitely held that culture up to a standard. And it was pretty strong when I got here, and I noticed it. And it was just happy to be here. And the fans do a great job of bringing that tradition and keeping the tradition. The fight song, I believe, is one of the best fight songs in the world, I think. It's not a copycat like some other schools not at down all. Here. It's pretty unique, I'd say. And yeah, we're pretty much built on tradition and culture, and we love it. I thought I had a way to go after that. Okay, well, then tell me this: has that actually ever impacted when you show up to a game and whatnot? Is that when you're coming in, you're playing in front of fans that have been watching this team for decades, that get Tech, if you want to put it that way. Does that
does that matter when you're playing a game, or is it just when you're playing, like, it's just the game at that point?
Oh, it definitely matters because, this is one of the oldest institutions. It's the culture here is very strong. And, playing against the rivals like Georgia, the clean old-fashioned hate that's been around for so long, that's one of the games that we have to have.
Yep.
And, playing, that's one of the most hyped-up games. The fans come out there, they show love, and they're very loud. And we can definitely feel it on the field, and we play extra hard against them, of course, because we know how much it means to the fans and beating Georgia we play hard every game, but we know we need to get those.
That game has an extra bit.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Well, talk about another extra special game. I talked to Joe about the Tennessee game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you I want to hear your perspective as well as what you remember from that game, because Maxwell was I remember watching that. I was like, how is this man's arm not flying off his shoulder, the rotator cuff? But he pulled it off, and he did a lot that night.
That was the best performance I've seen from Maxwell since he's been here, because we came in together, and that's he came up in a big moment, and he showed why he's one of the best arms in the country.
Yeah.
And from that game, it was definitely one of the wildest games that I've ever played in, the loudest games. I couldn't even hear a thought in my head.
Wow.
And when it came down the bottom eighth and we were rallying back and forth, it was definitely a fun game to be a part. And the game meant a lot. I wish we could have had it go on to a super regional and play them again. And it was definitely a fun game to be a part of.
If you win that game, you'd be as realistic as you want here. You can say you would have won it and something else. How far do you think y'all would have made it?
I think we could have made the Omaha because after that game, we probably would have had to face Ben Joyce, the guy that throws like 105. And as long as if we would have got, I think because we prepared all weekend we were going to face him. We thought we were going to face him 100%, so we were prepared to face him. And we know if we would have won that first game, we would have had to face him, and we could have got him out in 5 innings, and they had no more arms left, and I think we could have made it pretty far.
I asked Joe about having to share and what Whiters around. Did having them turn any of you into Yankee and Orioles fans? Are they pushing any specific team agendas, or they just know it's Braves country? You shut up.
It's Braves country for sure. Because I grew up a Braves fan. That's all I know is Braves country, Atlanta sports. That's it.
That's the right way to go.
Yeah.
It's the best. Is it? Teixeira was in classes last year. Obviously, I had a couple friends that were in there with him.
I had a class with him.
And what is that like? Because we know people come later.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you've got a half a semester Braves legends and then World Series champs. It's like, I'm just here.
Right. Yeah, I was very blessed to have a class with him, and I also have a class with Matt Wieters this semester in business ethics. It was a pretty cool experience because they're one of the guys they sit in class and they answer all the questions because they know everything about business because all their business endeavors so they know everyone and everything about business. So everyone in the class all right, who's this guy? I was like, come on, this is Mark Teixeira. Like, how do you not just look his name up and you'll see who he is? No one, everyone was surprised when they saw them in class.
I shook his hand at graduation and then I understood where all the power came from. I was like, okay, I can see why the short porch at Yankee was very friendly for you.
His farms are massive.
That guy, my goodness, really nice dude. I want to ask about the infield because Parada and Simpson are out now, which two of the biggest shoes to fill in school history at this point. Tell me about playing with them, and then what I guess is that what your mindset is in terms of all right, don't have that anymore.
Right. Playing with them, that's probably the closest to a big leaguer on a college campus you can possibly get. Kevin Parada and Chandler Simpson, those guys they're big league through and through, and just having them was a pleasure to have because you knew Chandler was going to get on base, still at base, with Kevin Parada right behind him, hits a home run. We got pretty used to it. But now that they're gone, we know that we're going to have to go use other powers that we have, like Drew Compton, Steven Reed. They've been stepping up a lot this fall and been coming to play like power hitters. We've been doing lots of bunts. We got a lot of speed guys. We also got Christian Campbell back, he's filling the shoes pretty well of Chandler Simpson in a second. I think he's going to be a name to watch this season because he's the guy. I think so.
That's cool. Yeah. The freshman. Yeah. What's your feeling about the freshman group? Because there's a lot of new ones on the roster. And it's baseball can be a one and done if you aren't careful.
Oh yeah. So. The freshmen that we had this year. They've matured very fastly and they've stepped up in the shoes and the roles because they know that they're going to have a big role to play in the season because there's a lot of them. Are a lot of seniors this year, and we have a ton of freshmen still on the roster, and they've matured a lot. The pitching staff on the freshman side is very, very good. The hitters are very, very good. You can just watch their approach. It's like they've been playing the game for a while. It's like nothing new for them in college baseball. It's pretty cool to see.
Tell me about your base running approach because I was telling Joe I pitched growing up in high school. Didn't end up at the plate that often, so I didn't have much on the base running. But in my head, I'm thinking, I mean, stealing would be fantastic, but it seems like it's one of the things in baseball that most consistently is just that fraction of a second kind of thing. So I mean, I guess physically that may be a different kind of preparation because you're effectively having to be a leopard out there.
Yeah.
And then you got to know the little bits about the pitcher. If you can find the tick, find that tick immediately and you exploit it. So like what do you think about that?
So on base, I mean, when I'm about to steal, the first thing I look at, if it's a righty, I look at that left foot. If it moves a little bit, I'm gone. And a lefty, it's usually first move, so I'm gone either way whenever I get that chance. And it's all about their timing to the plate. So if it's very fast to the plate, probably won't be going, and if they have a slow movement to the plate, then I'll definitely be going. Chandler Simpson was probably one of the best guys to ever steal a base because he could be 2 seconds later than I am and it'd still be safe by like 2 miles. He's so fast.
No, he's like that. Are there any players in the pros that you try to emulate that you watch over the summer?
I try to emulate Derek Jeter the most, especially playing shortstop. I would love. That's who I've been watching growing up, and that's just the shoes that I try to follow. I just watch videos of him, how he carries himself, and cool things that he does.
Did you talk to Tex about him at all?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I talked to him, and we got Cheese's Sabathia's son on the team, so talking to him, how he's growing up in the Yankees organization and seeing all those pros.
Sabathia could turn everyone into a pitcher this year if he wants. You got the entire AL East on your team.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool to have all these. We got Dawson Brown, Kevin Brown's dad, Kevin Brown's son. Yeah, it was just awesome to have all these big league guys, and it's just pretty cool.
That's cool. As much as we're not, is this an NL East City offender? Yeah, the best of the AL East of the 2010s is now. It's
pretty cool.
It's quasi not running this team, but giving a lot of juice.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think y'all got in the bag this year in terms of just how far y'all can go.
I think, this team, we got a lot of chemistry on this team this year because we got a lot of young guys taking the role of just bringing them on, carrying them, and showing them the ropes. I think we could go pretty far as long as we play as a team this year. People just don't get ahead of themselves, take every game, one game at a time, and I think we can go pretty far.
Nice.
Shock the world.
I'll ask you about just stuff on campus. I graduated from Chandler last year. What favorite parts of campus, food, places to hang out? Y'all got the hall over here, so you got your space. But in terms of just general campus life, what's been some of your favorite parts? So
I love to go to Rocky Mountain Pizza. That's a first.
Good call.
I love that place. We went to trivia night last night. It was pretty fun. We lost though. People are just way smarter than we are.
I saw someone on Twitter last night. Their bio said 10-time Rocky Mountain trivia champ, and I was like, that's incredible.
That's pretty cool to have. Yeah, Rocky Mountain's a good place to go to eat. To study, I usually go on top of a Clough.
Nice.
That nice view up there, or I'll probably just go outside of my apartment. Yeah, I just like on a nice day like this, I'll probably walk around campus, put the moped away, and just get some fresh air. It's a beautiful campus. I love it.
I forgot. I did want to ask about the mopeds. If you crash that, what happens?
Probably get injured, and the coaches be very, very upset. Very upset. But it's pretty safe. It's like a little bicycle.
It is,
but it's motorized.
Yeah,
it's fun, very fun to ride.
That was always the funny part. You just knew when a baseball player. You always knew when Presley Harvin was around because of his car, and you all knew when y'all were around. It was the most identifiable parts.
You just keep passing the mopeds down through the grades, and everyone gets the
It's the same set that you just pass them down.
Pretty much. Okay. One or two guys maybe buy their own, and then the seniors from last year they'll sell it, or the guys that leave for the draft they'll sell their mopeds to the guys still here.
Okay. Interesting. I did not know about that. I guess is there anything you're hoping to do post tech at this point? Like what's the future look like for you that you want to do?
Hopefully getting drafted, playing in the MLB somewhere. That'll be a dream come true. If not, I'll use this tech degree to the best of my ability. I know that the tech degree is what it's worth and what I can get with it, which I'm very blessed to say that I'll be graduating this spring in May, and that's probably one of my main goals of coming into tech was get the degree no matter what happens. Get the degree because it's going to be worth a lot in the long run.
You got a good combo, damn good baseball team and a good degree.
Love it. Can't go wrong with it at all.
Cannot at all.
Can't.
All right, Jadyn, thanks for coming out. Good luck this year. We'll be rooting for you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, to wrap us up, we have Jake DeLeo here of Tech Baseball representing the outfield. We had a pitcher, we had an infielder, now we got the outfield. So now we just didn't get a catcher, but that's fine. We got a battery mate. So how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing all right. Obviously, you weren't able to play all of last year with your injury, but where did you, if you were to put in a full season last year, where do you think, numbers-wise, performance-wise, just where do you think you would have ended up landed in terms of how you were as a player?
I'm not sure exactly numbers-wise because baseball is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt really good before my injury last year, and eventually started to bounce back and got to where I was, I think, towards the end of the season, right back to where I was before I got hurt.
Okay, nice. what does recovery look like for you for that? Is that impacting what your day to day was, just doing classes, being at the facility and whatnot?
Not this year. No, I'm all fine this year. But
Good.
last year that was the first time that I ever missed a baseball game because of injury. So
Wow.
It was definitely a little weird. Definitely weird because I'm so used to being amped up and playing baseball all the time to just really having nothing, just going to the field and watching. So it was kind of a first for me. It was definitely a little weird.
Do they make you do menial, keep the scorebook or any task, or are you just there to hang out and just be a guy?
No, I was just there kind of looking more into the small things. So when I got back into the game, I kind of picked up on things that I wouldn't see while I was in the game from the dugout, which I never had really done before. So that was a plus. But other than that, being injured kind of sucked.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I asked Jadyn about this one. I'll ask you too about what it was like when you got here with Danny Hall being here for longer than we've been alive, and just having the sense he's built a thing here that's stood the test of time and keeps working year in year out. Did it feel like there was a real sense of an institutional culture that you were able to just blend into immediately when you show up for the first time?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the reason that I chose Georgia Tech was even before I got here. You can kind of tell. I would say we're more family oriented as a baseball program.
Mm-hmm.
We're all really close, and that kind of helps push us to be better every single day. You've got your brothers, your teammates, all kind of striving towards the same thing every day, and I think that's kind of our culture. Yeah, is pushing each other, and I'd say it worked out pretty well. I mean, every year that I've been here, I feel like I've gotten a lot better because of my work ethic and the work ethic of the guys right next to me.
Mm-hmm. How, I guess, when you're doing off-season stuff and whatnot, is a lot of your activities with other players? Do you try to branch out, see other people on campus, do you get in other social circles, or is it your baseball crew is your crew when you're not playing?
I'd say it's always usually baseball, especially off-season workouts get a little harder because you're not in season or playing so much, so you have time to recover more. So that kind of brings you guys together, and then getting in your own work, you usually grab a couple guys that you're close with and come in, do your own kind of thing, whatever you want to work on. Mm-hmm. Whether that be kind of you get into a routine with guys that you do your stuff, throwing, hitting, running, whatever you want to do a little extra of. So it's usually always the baseball guys. Yeah.
Does your fall class load ramp up a little bit just because you don't have the games going as much, or you try to keep it balanced semester by semester?
I would say I'd say most of us usually do that. We go a little harder in the fall. Some guys take, I took summer classes, mm-hmm. So I was able to take, I think I took 16 credits in the fall, but I think I took maybe 9 in last summer while I was in Cape Cod, and I'm taking 12 this year or this semester with the season. So it's just definitely an easier workload, and it's nice because you get your 2 classes in the morning and then you go to lunch and you get to the field early.
Yeah, no, I did the 12-hour life for most of my semesters here, and that was the right choice. Yeah. Regardless of what you're doing in life, 12 semesters is the right amount here if you can help yourself. I guess so. During the season with that class crunch, I've always wondered, because I had a class with Chance Hall last year, and I could tell there were some mornings where it's you could tell y'all were out late. You should not have been awake at 9 a.m. for that first class. Does that, for you, how do you like to just balance that back and forth, where you're gonna be on the road a lot, you're gonna be playing late nights, you never know when a 15-inning game is gonna show up on a Friday and just destroy your sleep schedule? How do you like to balance that?
Well, I like to make sure that kind of everything's done before games, because like you said, you never know what can happen. Yeah. And so just getting my stuff done beforehand, so I don't have to worry about if our game goes late and I have something to do at 12, running back and finishing something at 11:45.
That'd be awful. If you had a midnight deadline on a Friday.
That happened once last year.
Oh,
I think
no.
We changed VT to a doubleheader on Saturday.
Right,
the
that was a
second
long
game
one.
went 15 innings, and I had a take-home test due at midnight that I thought I was going to be able to do way earlier. But ever since then, especially, it's kind of been get my stuff done. And when you come back, I'd say it is pretty hard when you come back from 2 a.m., 3 a.m. from you're in the Carolinas on a road trip and you get back early Monday morning. Yeah. It is hard, but I mean, that's what you sign up for, and you just gotta get up and get to class.
Yeah, I feel like if 19 inning game or whatever that was should be a valid enough excuse to not have to do something like that. Oh man, that's good. I feel like the most emblematic thing of being an athlete at Tech would be to like do the exam in the dugout at the same time. Just like no matter what, you still got to figure it out somehow.
Well, you have two kinds of professors. You have a professor that like understands it, and then you have the professors that are like, it doesn't matter.
Who
you
don't
time balance
bases.
your time better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tell me about. I want to talk about hitting specifically. Tell me what your approach is at the plate and what the entire just hitting contingent here is trying to do when they step up to the plate.
I would say overall, it's kind of like I was talking about how like we're like a family. We're all really close. It's kind of like a our kind of saying is like 9v1. There's 9 of us in the lineup, and it's all of us against that one pitcher. So it's not trying to do anything too big, not trying to hit like a 5-run home run, but just kind of grinding it down and being like a gritty group and doing whatever you have to do, whether that day it's bunting or hitting or running to score runs or letting it fly and hitting home runs like all around the park. I'd say whatever we have to do, we're just trying to get it done.
I guess don't give away the strategy if you don't want to, but like how often do y'all like hit and run? Is all this stuff situational? Do you just have moments where you're just like, I want to just try this and tell your coach like, hey, I just want to try to yak one, or like I need to figure out if I can bunt down the third base line today or something like that?
Well, we practice that all the time. Every baseball team really does, just bunting, hitting, running, like situational stuff. And then really in games, it just, I'd say, depends on the situation and who's up. If you have a guy that's particularly good at one thing and it's the right situation, I'd say like that's a good time to do it. But I'd say we trust like a lot of our hitters too, because we're a really good group to be able to come through with whatever they feel comfortable with.
Does in BP have there ever been days where in BP you're just like you just weren't feeling it, or you were feeling it, and then or does this BP like to kind of determine your mindset later in the game, or is it just part of the day and just it all kind of blends together and doesn't really matter?
BP's funny because there's some days that you'll have the worst rounds of BP that'll be your best games, so it's something that I'd say it's more of like a warm-up and feeling your rhythm for that day. Yeah. But also like a good round of BP definitely gives you like a little confidence and a little swagger walking around. But you don't put too much thought into it.
Okay. Do y'all have any team superstitions that y'all maintain, or is Coach Hall just like just a no on that? Or
I don't think we really have any superstitions.
It's very Georgia Tech of you.
Yeah.
It's very Georgia Tech of you to not have any of those. Tell me what your favorite parts of just being at Tech have been, aside from baseball, just life in Atlanta, or is it class stuff? Being just what is it? What do you got?
I like being in Atlanta probably the most. There's just like stuff to do outside of like a normal college town where you're in like some big college town that's just all about the college, and you have like the same 3 restaurants and the same like 3 whatever it is. Atlanta, you got a lot more than that.
You can't eat at all the restaurants in a 4-year degree.
Yeah, no.
You never find all of them.
You can find a couple favorites, but there's always something that if you want like a good burger, or you want something like a good sandwich, there's always something that you can find. And I found that to be probably one of my favorite things. You don't have to drive like 30 minutes to get to a grocery store or something like that.
You can walk to multiple of them.
So that's probably my favorite part.
That's cool. What is your personal goal for this season? And then I think Jadyn said y'all can definitely make a good dent in terms of playing together and prove that y'all can play without the names Parada, Simpson, and all those guys. Like what do you have in mind there?
I would just say being a good leader and being a good example to the young guys, and letting all that, have like a good mindset, but letting the stats or whatever come along with that. But I'd say my main priority is just setting like a good example.
Nice. I think that's all I got. We're really happy that y'all are going to be playing again this year. It was 70 degrees yesterday, and I was like, I could use a baseball game today.
Yeah.
But it was January 19th. That doesn't exist in the United States that early. Well, best of luck this year. We'll be rooting for you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Coming back, I think I'm going to do the outro. I've only done it once. I did it in the summer when you weren't on the pod, Jakes. I don't remember how well I did it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it now that I'm hosting here for a second. Our next episode, today's Monday. This is coming out on Thursday. It's going to be either Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there. We'll record Scions 157. If you want to reach out to us, read any of our content, find this podcast, share this podcast. We are on all the various podcasting platforms. You can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com. That is our main spot where you can find stuff, answer or put in questions for our mailbags. Just be part of the community. It's a fun spot there. We've usually got plenty of writing from me for women's basketball, the occasional volleyball piece, although we're out of season there, and then Jake's lovely Yellow Jacket Roundup. Email us. You can email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. Twitter, we are at FTRSblog. Jake is at JakeGrant98. I am at Jack Nicholas. Want to thank Section 103 for just being awesome people and having just the best tech gear out there. We're on Facebook as well. I technically run the Instagram. I got to do better about that. We'll see how that goes. With that, thanks for listening. It's been a big week. Softball's back, baseball's back, swimming's in full gear. It's a fun time to be a college sports fan.